1992 NFC Championship game.
Nate Newton is almost 65 now, and while new leaked footage has people looking back at his life again, the real story is much darker than one clip. This is the man who helped build the Dallas Cowboys dynasty of the 1990s, a 3-time Super Bowl champion, a 6-time Pro Bowler, a 2-time first-team All-Pro, the massive offensive lineman who protected Troy Aikman and opened lanes for Emmitt Smith. But that same man went from gridiron glory to a prison cell, from Super Bowl rings to federal drug trafficking charges, from being called Kitchen to being reduced to inmate number 10-10-10-L. His body nearly killed him. His choices destroyed his reputation. And even though he just received a presidential pardon in 2026, the damage cannot be erased. This is the story of how a Cowboys legend became a cautionary tale about fame, arrogance, crime, and the brutal cost of bad decisions. Nate Newton played 14 NFL seasons from 1986 to 1999. He was not a high draft pick. He started his professional career in the United States Football League with the Tampa Bay Bandits under coach Steve Spurrier. Before that, he played college football at Florida A&M University and earned all MEAC honors. When the USFL collapsed, Newton transitioned to the Dallas Cowboys in 1986. He became the physical foundation of one of the greatest offensive lines in NFL history. At 6'3" and well over 300 pounds, he was a giant. His nickname was Kitchen because he was said to be bigger than William the Refrigerator Perry. That size made him valuable on the field. It also planted the seeds for his future health collapse. Newton won Super Bowls in 1992, 1993, and 1995. He was selected to 6 Pro Bowls. He earned 2 first-team All-Pro selections. He had a brief stint with the Carolina Panthers in 1999 before retiring. Years later, in 2022, he was inducted into the Black College Football Hall of Fame. On paper, his football career was a success. But the warning signs were already there, long before he left the game. On March 21st, 1991, while Newton was still playing for the Cowboys, he was arrested in rural Newton County, Texas. Law enforcement had launched a massive raid on an illegal dogfighting ring. The operation was called Operation Pitbull. The raid led to 45 arrests. Several injured dogs were rescued. 2 dogs were actively fighting when deputies arrived. Newton was found trying to hide behind a tree as officers moved in. Investigators said he owned 14 pit bulls. He was considered a major contributor to the illegal dogfighting circuit. The specific criminal charges from that 1991 event were eventually dropped due to insufficient evidence of active participation in the fight itself. But the damage was done. The incident exposed the dangerous social world Newton was involved in. He later admitted that the rough crowd he met through those dogfighting circles helped lead him into narcotics. This was not a man who accidentally made one mistake. This was a pattern. Even while he was winning championships and cashing NFL checks, he was already moving in criminal circles. The 1991 arrest was a warning. Nobody listened. If you think fame makes some athletes feel untouchable, drop a comment below. And if you want more stories about sports legends whose lives changed after the spotlight faded, hit that subscribe button now. Newton retired from football in 1999. 2 years later, his life fell apart. He was not broke. His final NFL contract reportedly paid him $700,000. He later admitted his reasons for turning to drug trafficking were laziness, greed, and wanting to be the biggest dope man. He used his celebrity and sense of invincibility to move huge amounts of marijuana across state lines. He described a business model where $10,000 could be invested in bulk product, moved in cardboard boxes, and sold for much more. He said deals could reach up to $75,000. This was not survival. This was arrogance. Newton thought his fame and size made him untouchable. He was wrong. On November 4th, 2001, Newton was pulled over in St. Martin Parish, Louisiana. Police found 213 pounds of marijuana in a white van. He was arrested. He was released on bail. Instead of stopping, he got caught again, only about 5 or 6 weeks later. On December 12, 2001, he was stopped in Ellis County, Texas. authorities found 175 pounds of marijuana and $10,000 in cash. The total exposure from the two arrests was 388 pounds of marijuana. The street value was listed around $700,000. The second arrest happened while he was already out on bond. Newton himself later called that decision extra stupid. This was not one bad night. This was a man who thought the rules did not apply to him. He pleaded guilty to federal drug trafficking charges. He received a 30-month federal sentence. He served from 2002 to 2004. Newton was processed through several facilities.
These included Seagoville Detention Center, the Federal Correctional Institute in Texarkana, and a high-security Louisiana state prison. The former Super Bowl star became inmate number 10-10-10L. In Louisiana, he described sleeping on a concrete slab. He said the cell was crowded with 40 other prisoners. They shared a single toilet. His celebrity status meant almost nothing. He could trade cigarettes for snacks like Twinkies. He felt deep shame. He stopped visits from close friends and mentors like Deion Sanders and Barry Switzer. He said watching them walk away while he stayed behind the prison line was unbearable. In 2005, he rejected the idea that he simply found God in prison. He said he found hatred and the devil, and men scheming to break the law. This supports the harsh reality of what prison actually was for him. It was not redemption, it was survival. After his release in 2004, Newton faced a serious health crisis. By early 2010, his weight had reached 411 pounds. His body mass index was over 50. He was medically categorized as super obese. He had chronic high blood pressure. He had diabetes. He had severe arthritis in his back, knees, elbows, and hands. Basic movement became painful. He could break into a sweat from minimal activity. He feared he might not live to see his youngest son, King, graduate from high school or become a man. That fear pushed him towards medical intervention. Newton underwent vertical gastrectomy, also called gastric sleeve surgery. The surgery was performed by Dr. David Kim in Colleyville, Texas. It happened on April 19, 2010. The surgery removed 75% of his stomach. He lost about 175 pounds. He went from 411 pounds to around 236 or 220 pounds. It was his lightest weight since 9th grade. The surgery helped reverse diabetes and high blood pressure, but it was not an easy, happy ending. He has to manage lifelong nutrition. He faces risks tied to vitamin B12, iron, and folate deficiencies. He must use supplements. He has to control portions. He has to follow a high-protein diet. He faces the risk of dumping syndrome, which can happen when high sugar or high fat foods move too fast from the stomach to the small intestine. For a former football player who once lived on huge meals and massive body weight, this became a daily battle. The surgery saved his life, but it did not give him freedom. It gave him new rules he has to follow forever. In February 2026, President Donald Trump granted Nate Newton a full presidential pardon for his 2002 drug trafficking conviction. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones personally delivered the news to him at the Star in Frisco. Newton was told his slate had been wiped clean. The pardon was connected to a broader clemency effort led by Alice Marie Johnson, described as the White House pardon czar. Other NFL figures in the pardon group included Joe Klecko, Jamal Lewis, Travis Henry, and the late Billy Cannon. The pardon restored civil rights, including the right to vote, serve on a jury, and hold federal office. Newton said the pardon mattered for his grandchildren. He wanted them to see that even though he made massive mistakes, he spent decades trying to turn his life around. But a pardon can restore legal rights. It cannot erase public memory. It cannot delete the internet. It cannot undo the dogs, the drugs, the prison years, the shame, or the damage to his name. Newton admitted the word felon had been a key obstacle in his life for 20 years. Even with the pardon, that label still follows him. Newton remains connected to the Dallas Cowboys. He works as a sports media analyst. He contributes to official Cowboys platforms such as Hangin' with the Boys and Cowboys Crosstalk on 105.3 The Fan. Jerry Jones and the Cowboys organization helped give him a second home. His estimated net worth is around $500,000. He lives with discipline and consistency. He tries to maintain a roughly 220-pound frame. He works as a mentor to young athletes. His daily routine can include intense exercise, sometimes double workouts. He follows a strict, high-protein diet. But this is not a simple comeback story. He still lives with the consequences of football, crime, prison, weight, and public shame. As he approaches 65, his body carries years of football damage. He has dealt with arthritis in his back, knees, elbows, and hands. The wider issue of CTE fears hangs over many former NFL players. Research says 1 in 3 former NFL players believe they have CTE. CTE can currently only be diagnosed after death. Symptoms can include mood swings, rage, paranoia, and depression. Players who believe they have CTE report higher rates of suicidal thoughts. Newton has not been diagnosed with CTE, but the fear of brain damage is part of the larger reality facing many former NFL linemen and veterans like him. This adds to the idea that his life today is not simple redemption. It is constant maintenance. Nate Newton's life is not just a comeback story. It is a warning. He won Super Bowls, lost his way, went to prison, nearly destroyed his body, and spent decades trying to rebuild his name. The pardon gave him legal relief, but it did not erase the cost. He still carries the physical pain of 14 years in the NFL trenches. He still follows a restrictive diet because of a surgery that saved his life. He still lives in a world where people remember him as the man who got caught with nearly 400 pounds of marijuana. He still mentors young athletes, trying to show them the price of arrogance and bad choices. His story proves that talent can make someone famous, but choices decide what follows them for the rest of their life. The real lesson is not that Newton found redemption. The real lesson is that redemption does not mean freedom from consequences. It means living with them every single day. So here is the question. Do you think Nate Newton's story is true redemption? Or is it a warning that came too late? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more stories about sports legends whose lives after fame became more complicated than fans ever realized, subscribe now.